Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Calvin Tobin Show. I am your host, Calvin Tobin. Today we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. All right, college basketball has been really confusing this year because we don't know who is truly the best team, because almost every single time a new team is ranked number 1 or number 2, they're almost guaranteed a loss based on how this year has transpired. And based on what has transpired, if a team is ranked number 1 or number 2, they have lost a collegiate record 13 times this year, and the previous record was 9. And it's crazy for how much madness is going on, because it's not even March yet and we already got all this craziness going on. But here's the thing, the most recent number 1 team to have suffered a loss and become a victim of this list is the number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide. If they're not number 1 in college football, they are certainly number 1 in something else. And this time around, it's in college basketball. And they lost to an SEC rival, the number 10 Tennessee Volunteers, 68-57. Now, 68-59. Now, how did this game transpire? Well, before this game even started, the Tennessee Volunteers have been struggling against the SEC this month, losing 3 of their first 4 games, only beating the Auburn Tigers, who were ranked 25th at the time, beating them 46-43. And what's scary about this, at least for Tennessee, is that over these 4 games, they were struggling to score 60 points in a game, and they have to go against one of the top 10 best scoring teams in the country, in the Alabama Crimson Tide, who is scoring 82 points a game. But how this game turned out, it was a completely different story, because how this game started was the Volunteers started off and got this going with a great lockdown defense over the Crimson Tide. And what they did was they made the turnover battle a regular basis, because what they did in this battle is they made Alabama turn the ball over on a regular basis, turning the ball over 12 times in that first half. And because of that, they were able to create more scoring opportunities for their offense. And because of that, they were able to sustain a lead. But the second half, this is where it got interesting, because Tennessee was tied with Alabama to start the second half off at 29 apiece. But once they scored, and all they had to do was be the first ones to score, and that's what they did, and they never lost the lead for the rest of the game. And in this second half, in this time around, their passing game was what made them effective. And the only way that Alabama was able to keep up with them was to win off the glass and win the rebounding battle. And they did do that, out rebounding Tennessee 40-33 over the entire game. But that still didn't work, because in that second half, because of how dominant that passing game was, they were able to go on a couple of 7 to 9 point runs over Alabama, and that's why they were able to keep the lead the entire time. And Alabama, they just had one of those games where nothing worked out at all for them. And because of that, they scored 24 points less than what they're used to scoring. And because of that, another number 1 team has suffered a loss in college basketball again this year. And right now, nobody knows a defeat better than the Minnesota Wild, because they have lost 5 of their last 6 games. And their biggest struggle right now is to be able to put the biscuit in the basket. And they're only doing that 1.6 times per game. And the only victory that they had this month was over the New Jersey Devils, beating them 3-2, and that was the only time as well where they scored over 2 goals. The rest of the games, they have scored 2 or less. And last night, the Colorado Avalanche were the most recent team to triumph over them, beating them 3-2. Now, how did this game go down? Well, this game started off with Minnesota being red hot on the offense, but no capitalization. They were constantly in Colorado's zone with shots being fired from anywhere and everywhere, all like the entire first period, and they were doing it so much so it looked like Colorado didn't even have a chance to possess the puck and get into Minnesota's offensive zone to get their chances to score as well. But here's the thing, for how much Minnesota was in Colorado's zone in the first period, Colorado still managed to score in the first period thanks to Andrew Cogliano. And that put the Colorado up 1-0. And once that second period got going, this is where Colorado's momentum really started to get going, because they scored 2 of the 3 goals in that second period. And it was all thanks to Nathan MacKinnon, because his speed and passing were what got Colorado's team moving and going, and why they were able to constantly be on breakaways and score breakaway goals. Minnesota could hardly score at all, thanks to Colorado's defense stepping in when their offense wasn't doing their job. Minnesota, the crazy thing is that they were finally able to score, but they only scored 1 goal in that first period, making the score 3-1. But after that second period ended, that was the last time we ever saw Colorado score in the game. But that didn't matter, because the Colorado's defense stepped up and were always there in the second half, and or in the third period, excuse me. But in that third period, Minnesota was able to score 1 more goal thanks to Kirill Kaprizov to make the score 3-2, but it wasn't enough because of it. And for how surprising Minnesota's loss was the efficiency. And here's what happened, is that throughout the entire game, the Colorado Avalanche were able to score 3 goals on 19 shots, while Minnesota scored twice on 43 shots. They were always in Colorado's zone, but just could not score at all. It's a bit surprising to me that they could not pull off the victory, and because of Colorado winning this game, they were able to break the point tie with Minnesota, and they're able to move ahead by one victory of 63-61 points in the Central Division. But here's the thing. You cannot tell me or give me a valid reason on why someone is better than the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference. These guys are unreal and have continuously been unreal. And last night, their latest victim was the Dallas Mavericks. And here's the thing, how dominant the Denver Nuggets have been this year. They are one of 3 teams that have 40 or more wins. They are neck and neck with the Boston Celtics for the best record in the NBA, and they are the most efficient team in the NBA as well. And their victim last night, the Dallas Mavericks, they beat them 118-109 on 57% shooting, while their season average is 52. Now, how this game went down is, this game started off with a nice wire-to-wire game in that first quarter, with the Denver Nuggets having the lead still 26-25. But once that second quarter hits, and this is Denver's magic quarter, it doesn't matter who they're facing and when they face them. That second quarter is when the Denver Nuggets start to come alive against anybody, because a lot of times this is where Denver starts to pull away from anybody, making it a 10, 15, even sometimes a 20-point lead. And on a rare occasion, it could potentially be a 25 or a 30-point lead if it's a good night, even if it's a good night for them, even for how efficient they are. And for how that first half turned out, Dallas's defense is showing a significant amount on, like, that was a mistake. Even though that they got Kyrie Irving, it was a mistake to trade two big guys for one little guy, because that defense is going to be significantly worse, and it practically showed last night. But it doesn't. But their offense did step up in the second half. They were able to outscore Denver 65-57 in the second half, and they were able to outscore themselves from the first half. But like I said, that defense is the key factor on how they're going to win games, because they got to figure out on how they're going to defend, even for how much they shrunk before the deadline. And it sucks because they actually potentially could have won this game, even though that they were down by 20 points a couple of times, and they had a dominant second half. But Luka Doncic was without his new wingman, Kyrie Irving, and he was out due to having some tightness in his lower back. But because Kyrie was out, Luka Doncic went off for a 37.4 rebound, 9 assists, and 4 steal game to do as much as he could to help Dallas win this game. But it did not work out because Denver is just too good on offense. They are constantly blowing teams out, no matter who it is, and everyone is always getting in on the fun to be able to score basket after basket after basket. And in this game was one of those games where everybody got in on the fun to be able to score, because everybody was able to score but two guys. And their offense was so efficiently spread out that 6 guys, almost 8 guys, had scored double digits. And how this game and how their players played out is Nikola Jokic got another triple-double, and he has 97 right now, and he's close to getting 100, and he's probably going to get that within the next 5 to 7 games based on how he plays. And then we had KCP leading the way on the defensive side, being at the forefront with 3 steals and a block. And then we also had Jeff Green, who came out of nowhere in this game to become the point scoring leader for the Denver Nuggets in this game by getting 24 points on the game. And because of how dominant the Denver Nuggets have continuously been, they have now improved their record to 41-18. All right, that's the end of the Calvin Tobin Show. Please subscribe to my channel at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports media. And please follow me on Instagram at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports news whatsoever. And I'm out.